Hi, I'm Keith Dowdle with Cycle News Magazine, and this is the 2026 BMW R1300 RT. This bike is all new from the ground up, and it is arguably the most technologically advanced sport touring motorcycle ever built. We're going to give you our impressions of it, so stick around. Reviewed this motorcycle in the August issue. I think it's the first issue in August of Cycle News. Our boy Adam Child, we call him Chad, went over to Germany for the international press intro of this bike, and he has a detailed written review of this bike in the magazine, which we'll link down below. It's also on our website, cyclenews.com. So Chad went into a lot of detail on the bike. Obviously, at a press intro, you only get a chance to ride the bike for a day, maybe two. So not a lot of opportunity to, one, go into in-depth some of the features that you would use strictly when you're traveling. And what we want to cover on this is, in addition to all the new features on the RT, we want to also talk about the navigation system, how it works, the passenger, what it's like for a pillion. We'll bring my lovely wife Brittany, who has been on countless motorcycles. We've taken a couple of trips on this bike. We've had it for about 3 weeks now, so we've kind of learned what it's like to live with this new RT. So from initial concept and planning for the 2026 RT, BMW wanted to kind of change the look and the feel, make it a leaner, lighter looking machine. The 1250 RT was kind of big, kind of bulky looking. The actual fairing and the layout of the motorcycle, just the way it looked, made it look much heavier than it really was. And that was intimidating to a lot of riders based on their market research. So with this bike, they wanted to make it look lighter, leaner, sportier. And the new front fairing, the way they've designed it, personally, I love the way it looks. It's very aggressive looking. The bike has a stance that looks like it's ready for sport riding. And they've tried to put the sport back into sport touring. And they've done that in several ways. One of the things that they wanted to do, in addition to changing the look of the motorcycle, was they wanted to change how the rider sits on the bike. Rather than sitting in the bike and feeling like you're in some luxury recliner going down the road, they wanted you to be more on top of the bike. They wanted you to have a command seating position. And this motorcycle does feel that way. You definitely sit on top of this motorcycle versus in this motorcycle. It's kind of more of an elbows out, aggressive riding position that you're in. And that lends itself well to the feel of a lighter, sportier machine.
What's up, everybody? I'm sitting here with some of my closest friends in the adventure world from Mitas Tires. We got the Enduro Trail Plus, and we have the Enduro Trail XT Plus. These represent a pretty good range of what Mitas offers in their adventure tiring lineup. This is more like an 80-20. If you're going 80% off-road, you're gonna go with the XT Plus with the big knobs. We just got done doing a review of this in the magazine you can check out. These tires are coming on a lot more OEMs now as a really good all-around on-road, off-road tire. Mitas has been proven in the market. They have Chris Birch on the bike doing some amazing things and helping them develop product, and we're happy to have them on board. Mitas Motor offers tires anything from sport touring all the way to full-on motocross. So to find out what works best for you in your next ride, head to mitas-moto.com or check out your local dealer to see how they can get you on your next ride.
The weight, 615 pounds, so it's not a light motorcycle by any means. But once it gets rolling, it's very agile, very easy to handle, and I would say arguably one of the best handling BMWs I've ever ridden. One of the ways that they've achieved that is through a system that they're calling dynamic chassis adaptation. And basically what they're doing with that is they're changing the spring rate on the rear of the motorcycle. Not the preload, but the spring rate. So by raising up the spring rate in the rear, making the bike more on its nose. It gives the bike much more of a sporty feel. Now, that's achieved in the Dynamic and the Dynamic Pro riding modes. When you go back to the road modes, the bike levels back out, the rear end comes back down, and the chassis actually gets a little bit longer. In the dynamic chassis adaptation, they're actually changing the rake of the front forks by raising the bike in the rear and bringing the front end slightly. The way the new Evo telelever suspension works is absolutely incredible. The bike handles, like I said, like an absolute dream. One of the other new technological features that this motorcycle has is automated shift assist. Not automatic, automated. And BMW is very specific about using that term because it is not an automatic transmission, even though when you're in drive mode, it does perform like an automatic transmission in that you put it in drive, you twist the throttle, it shifts up, it shifts down, it does everything, and it does it in different ways depending on what mode you're in. If you're in road mode, it's going to be looking for the most efficient means to get the maximum fuel economy, so it will be in 6th gear when you're going 30 miles an hour. Likewise, when you're in Dynamic or Dynamic Pro, it's going to keep the RPMs higher for that more active riding, dynamic style riding, sport type riding. So the transmission does adjust to the type of riding you're doing when you're in drive. Personally, all of these new transmissions, whether it's the DCT on the Honda or the automated shift assist on the BMW, I like riding them in manual mode. And when you're in manual mode on this motorcycle, it's just like riding any other motorcycle. It has a regular transmission, regular clutch. The shift drum is the same kind of shift drum that you would find in a standard motorcycle transmission. The only thing that's different is you got actuators in there that are helping you engage the clutch and working with you based on your throttle input, lean angle, on tons of different sensors to help you shift. And it is absolutely incredible to ride these new machines. I know there's a lot of haters out there when it comes to automated or automatic, however you phrase it, transmissions in these new motorcycles. But the reason that virtually every manufacturer is going to these on their high-end machines is because it simply works. And it works very well. It's very efficient. It's less fatiguing. And it makes the riding experience so much more enjoyable. So unless you've ridden one, don't be a hater, because I'm telling you, it is so fun to ride. I've been riding motorcycles. I won my first trophy in 1974. So I've been doing this a long time. And I can tell you, these new transmissions are absolutely incredibly fun to ride. When you downshift, it will blip the throttle for you. When you upshift, you don't even close the throttle at all. You leave the throttle right where it's at. You shift up and it's seamless. You don't even feel it. It's like the best quick shifter you could ever imagine having. Don't be a hater. It's awesome. You got to try it, and I think that you will fall in love with it. We actually had a friend of mine that is a longtime rider, and he's always kind of been a naysayer about the automatic transmissions. He rode this motorcycle, and he was absolutely blown away, and he's a believer now. So let's talk about the other features that make traveling on a motorcycle like this so enjoyable. This motorcycle has BMW's app that they use for navigation. They've had it out for quite a while now. It's been perfected a little bit on this motorcycle. The 10.25 inch dash on this bike is beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And it will give you a full map display of where you're going. So the entire moving map comes up on the full 10-inch display, 10.25 inch display, and it is awesome to look at. It also counts down how far you have to your next turn, shows that on the screen. Of course, it talks to you and tells you where your turn is coming, what to expect in the intersection, things like that. I think the ride app that they've got on this bike for this particular bike works incredible. The screen and just how it's laid out now, the app works so much better on this bike versus some of the other BMWs that I've used the same app on. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about on this bike, BMW spent a considerable amount of time making sure that the pillion was comfortable. So my lovely wife Brittany, who's been on the back of countless motorcycles, obviously with my line of work, she's opinionated about what she likes, and she's got a lot of knowledge because she's been on the back of a lot of motorcycles. So what do you think, sweetie?
So I really liked this one. I really enjoyed it from my perspective. You know, my favorite bike to be on the back of is the GS that we have, because it's a great blend of comfort, and also it feels like you're on a bike and you're having like a really good experience. Some of the larger touring bikes that I've been on feel kind of like you're riding a motorcycle and you're like towing me behind in my recliner or something,
Yeah.
which is not really the experience that I personally enjoy. And so I really felt like this bike gave you a nice blend of the comfort, but in a super capable, smooth, flowing riding experience.
So you were saying earlier that you felt like you weren't cramped at all. You liked the way the bags have been redesigned so that you're comfortable on the back.
Yeah, I really liked kind of the ergonomics of the seating and the space that I had, because even though I love the GS, a lot of times, my knees will get a little bit cramped where I have to like stretch my legs out as we're riding. Whereas this one, I didn't really have that at all. I feel like the geometry of it is really good. The foot pegs are nice and wide, which I love that. They're nice, solid, wide foot pegs, which just gives me more control because I can lever myself, I can press against them. And
you go over a bump or something,
yeah,
you can
all
stand
these,
up. We go over railroad tracks and stuff, you can stand up.
Exactly. All these little things just help me to have more control over my experience, which means I'm having like less physical inputs into your experience as you're doing the riding.
And there's two different seats. So you have a seat back here that's solely for you.
Right.
I have a seat that's solely for me. So we're not sliding into each other. You're not constantly trying to push yourself back.
Right. I really like that, because some of the bikes that we've been on where it's just one seat, or even a seat that's not contoured, this has both the contour and a separate seat. So it's really nice because I'm not sliding into you. I'm still comfortable. The other thing that I liked about this bike was I do like the backrest. Like, I don't necessarily need a backrest, but especially if you're doing long distance riding, it's nice to be able to just lean back. And this one is very comfortable.
And this one has a world first according to BMW. We might check that, but I think they're right. I don't think it's ever been done before. It has
a heated backrest, and it has a heated seat, and it has heated grips. And I love all of those features.
And you control them
and
yourself.
I get to control
I don't have to give input. You can just switch them on and off yourself.
Right. So there's controls here, and it's basically there's a hot and then a warm. So what I did is I just put it to the hot when we first got on, so it would really heat up. And then as I warmed up, I would put it to warm. And I would say, we've had a bunch of different types, approaches to maintaining our temperature.
Warm on a motorcycle.
Yeah, on a motorcycle.
Because we ride year round.
Yeah. And so what I like about this is I feel like it actually probably gives you more flexibility in when you ride and just the level of comfort. Whenever I have to wear a heated jacket or a heated vest, a lot of times I start to get claustrophobic, and I feel like I can't move. And so the nice thing about this is we can go out in a temperature that it's kind of like on that shoulder between you need it and you don't. And you've got it built into the bike, and it just makes it so much nicer because you don't get chilled, you don't get that same fatigue. And I really enjoyed that.
So you were very comfortable on our long distance trips that we made. You did have one complaint though. I don't know if it's kind of a nitpicky complaint, but you did have one kind of suggestion for BMW going forward, and that was to do with the hand grips.
Yeah. So first of all, I love the hand grips because I do think that if you get cold, if you can just warm up your hands, that really makes a big difference for the rest of your body. But for me, and I don't know if it's because we have the larger backrest here, the larger trunk,
top case.
But for me, so this black part is the part that heats up. So this black part, it's kind of far back for me. So when I'm sitting on the bike, I found that my forearm kind of bumps up against this part. So the position for me to hold on when I'm cool is not the most ergonomic. Now, I will say that I would much rather deal with it not being super ergonomic and have the heat than not have the heat and have the ergonomics.
Because you're not constantly holding on to them. You grab them, they get you warm,
and then
put
you're
your
like,
hands
okay,
back down in front of you.
Right. And it could be, different people, maybe different people's body types are a little different and they wouldn't have that issue. I just noticed it for me. I tend to have my hands up a little further forward. Unless we're off-road, which you don't go off-road on this one. So, but I didn't feel like that was a big issue. It was just something that I noticed. But overall, I really loved, I love the combination of comfort, but still having I would not say aggressive, but having that
more dynamic
feel
which
of
was
like
what
being
BMW
on the bike instead of like the way it sometimes feels with other touring bikes.
So you want to be part of the experience.
Yeah.
You don't want to just be towed along. As you say, some motorcycles make you feel like you're just towed along on a trailer.
Right.
This makes you feel like you're part of the experience.
Right.
We also experienced when we were on our trip the fact that these bags can expand out, which is a really cool feature because the old Valero bags, it was all or nothing. You expanded them all the way out and that's what you got, or you put them all the way in and that's what you got. Whereas these are variable, so you can adjust it just as far as you need. If you want to we put our helmets in at one point. We both put our helmets in the side bags because we wanted to go walk around town. So we expanded it out just a little bit. 2 full face helmets, one on each side, fit perfectly. And then when we got ready to go, we took the helmets out, close the bag back in so it's nice and tight. If you're splitting traffic or something like that, you don't have to worry about your bag sticking way out. Yeah, all in all, I would say it's a home run.
It is a home run. I really enjoyed it.
So can we buy one? Please, please, please? I think the answer there is going to
buy one, but then you have to...
I got to sell something.
Yeah, that's
where I have no compromise. I want to keep all the motorcycles I have. And add another one to the fleet. One of the things that I like when I have her on the back is I don't want to know she's back there. I love that she's back there. I love talking to her through our Cardo system. But when I get on the gas and I'm riding aggressive, I don't want to feel her back there. And on this motorcycle, you don't. She knows how to look through the turns and she leans with me and it's just a joy to ride. Whereas some motorcycles, when she's on the back, the chassis is just too small, doesn't have quite enough power. The seat, as she mentioned, you're constantly sliding into each other. It's just an exercise in frustration. So when you've got a motorcycle that's comfortable for both parties that are on it, it makes the experience so much better. So one of the other things I want to point out on this bike are the brakes. Of course, it's like every other modern motorcycle now. It has linked brakes, but the brakes on this motorcycle work stellar. They are so incredibly good. Easily 1 finger, 2 finger on the brake lever, and you can brake super hard. So because of all of the different options available for this motorcycle, BMW has tried to make it easier for their customers to order. So they've got 4 packages that you can choose from. So you can choose the Alpine White, which just comes with a basic package. That's the base model bike. Triple Black, which adds a few more features and benefits. The Impulse Blue, which is this bike here. And then the Option 719, which adds all of the billet pieces and all that. And of course, you can customize all these models the way you want when it comes to the passenger comfort kits and things like that. But BMW is trying to make it just a little bit easier when you're in the dealership to know what you want and which bike to order. So the BMW engineers, in addition to just changing the style and how the front of the motorcycle looks, how the rear of the motorcycle looks, to give it that more aggressive, younger kind of look, They also spent a considerable amount of time in the wind tunnel making sure that the aerodynamics work correctly. And they really did a great job. One of the cool things about this bike, and you think at first it's kind of hokey, but these things come up here, these little side panels come up, and it changes how the wind flows around you. And it makes an incredible difference. Like I said, at first I thought it was just kind of a hokey gimmick type thing. It's no gimmick. It actually works. It's incredible. When you're riding down the road, especially on the freeway where you're going, 80 miles an hour, yeah, you pull these things up, and it is incredible how it makes the wind just go completely around the bike. So it really does do a great job. It's got spoilers here. These are kind of a add to the look of the bike, but they also have a functionality profile where they keep the wind kind of going up and over your hands. The back of the motorcycle, one of the things they wanted to improve was kind of that suction feel where when you'd have the windscreen all the way up, the bike kind of wants to suck you forward. They've fixed that. So in addition to just the way the bike looks, they've changed the aerodynamics of it as well. And they've really done a fantastic job. I can say that everything on this bike functions the way it should, as is typical with BMW. A lot of times it's function over form for them, and that's why a lot of people love their products. So who's this motorcycle for? Well, it's certainly not for a beginner rider. It's certainly not for a budget-conscious rider. BMW knows that the customer who buys the RT1300 is probably coming from another BMW, probably a GS or maybe an older model GT. This is certainly not an entry-level motorcycle. This bike, as it sits, as tested, is $32,815. So it is certainly not an inexpensive motorcycle, but I think for what you're getting, there's nothing else that can even come close in this category. There are sport touring motorcycles out there that they call sport touring, but when it comes to the features and the benefits and what you're getting for your money, there's really nothing else in the class. And BMW knows that the customer who buys this motorcycle is going to be a sophisticated buyer who's been riding a long time. They know what they're looking for, they know what they're after, and they have the wherewithal to be able to afford it. So yeah, it's not an inexpensive motorcycle. Would I buy it? Absolutely. If I could have yet another motorcycle in my shed, I would definitely own this motorcycle. I think in terms of the handling, the comfort, the characteristics of the bike, I would venture to say that most guys, maybe not most guys, but a good percentage of the guys who are riding GSs should really be on this bike. It has a lower seat height. It's much more maneuverable at lower speeds and at high speeds. The comfort, when you're going down the freeway, it just eats up the miles like there's no tomorrow. It's so comfortable, so easy to ride. And when you get up in those high gears, the thing just grinds out the miles like a semi-tractor trailer. It just goes forever, and it does it in comfort, in luxury, in style, with all the features and benefits you could ever imagine or ever want in a motorcycle of this caliber. So how did BMW do on their new 2026 R1300 RT? Well, personally, I love the looks of the bike. I love the way they've changed the styling. I love the aggressive look of the motorcycle. In terms of the handling and the riding characteristics of the bike, I'll tell you, I would absolutely buy this motorcycle. If I had an extra $33,000, which is what this bike is as you see it, I would absolutely own it. It is such a great motorcycle to ride. Whether you're going fast, whether you're going slow, whether you're gobbling up miles on the freeway, or whether you're on the twisty roads of the North Georgia mountains just elbows out, this bike is so fun to ride. You heard Brittany's comments on the pillion comfort of it. If you can get your wife or your significant other on the back of this motorcycle, chances are they'll give you the A-OK to go buy it, because it is super comfortable for the passenger. It is super comfortable for the rider. And I would give BMW an A+ on their new R1300 RT.